All right. Let me get Barry and Madison unmuted here. How is everybody doing? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Let me unmute that. How is everybody doing? Let me quick bring up comments here.
Nothing going on.
Yeah. Let me quick say hello to everybody in the chat room. How's everybody doing? Johnny, hello.
We're here to talk about what? Magic Key renewals tonight, right?
Yeah, right. Did anything happen? Has anything been announced?
Nothing. No, I think a giant bomb got dropped yesterday, and we pretty much, except for food and drinks, found out the rest of Halloween Horror Nights this year.
Yeah, and it is shaping up to be, at least in my opinion, one heck of a year this year, especially with which we'll talk about in a minute, it's kind of weird saying this, the Halloween theme for Halloween Horror Nights.
People are like, isn't it normally themed to Halloween? This year it's really themed to Halloween.
Yeah. So we got Madison joining us again. Madison, thank you so much for hanging out with us once again. Talking about our favorite thing, of course, and that is Halloween Horror Nights 31, 2022, whatever you want to call it. As Barry mentioned, we got pretty much everything announced yesterday. Houses, scare zones, shows. The only thing that we didn't get were the food items, which I'm sure will be coming here in the coming days and 2.5 weeks out. So it's got to be sometime soon here. So what we're going to do tonight is we are going to methodically pretty much go through everything. We're going to first kind of quick chat about, like I said, the theme. What's the theme this year? And Halloween. Then Halloween. Halloween Horror Nights theme is Halloween. And then I will quickly go over everything that has been announced, that was announced previously, which was pretty much all the IP houses. And then we will dive into scare zones, and then we will wrap up with the 6 original houses that were announced. For those of you that are chatting, watching on our Twitch and YouTube, let us know in the comments as we progress here through the stream. What are you guys most excited about? There's a lot of, it looks like there's a lot of good stuff this year. So as we get going here and talk about each thing, let us know. What are you guys most excited for? I see you guys are already, Travis, bugs. Everybody's excited. We will talk about the bug house. Just wait. Just be patient. Rena says the scare zones look so promising this year, and I love the Halloween theme. Yeah, it's really, really cool this year. So without further ado, we have a lot to get into. So let's go ahead. Let me bring up slideshow here. I don't have a slideshow. I don't have a slide for basically the theme, like you said.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, it's Halloween. I don't know how a lot of us, I guess some of us out there connected the dots that, hey, it's the 31st one. Halloween's on October 31st. Why not Halloween be the theme of this year?
It took me a little while to connect the dots, like you were saying.
Yeah, and then Laura Sauls, I guess, she's the senior creative director. She sort of pretty much confirmed, talked about it in the Discover Universal podcast of, made sense. 31, October 31st. Why not Halloween be the overarching theme for this year? Because we've had this 80s theme. Things sort of going on last couple years. I like it so far. I mean, we'll get more in depth in a little bit, but just the fact, and the scare zones are all going to have an overarching theme that also leads into the tribute store, and just old school Halloween. So and the house, many of the original houses, just very old school Halloween, and I think we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that.
Yeah.
What about you, Madison?
Madison, what?
The merch is a very traditional, very vintage Halloween, which I really love, and so I feel like that's kind of also the overarching theme that they're kind of adding into, is very much playing up like the vintage side of Halloween.
Yeah, because the All Hallows Eve boutique got a complete makeover for this year, and it's all that kind of vintage kind of the blow mold figures from the kind of 80s kind of old school Halloween theme, which I love. That's my favorite. The cat. He has like a specific name. The cat with the top hat. Just very retro Halloween, which I am all for.
It also seems like a lot of like 1950s too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
and just the fact that they took, the whole Pumpkin Lord thing that sort of caught fire on social media last year, and of course Little Boo, who even though Little Boo has been around for a while, caught fire last year, and they integrated into this year's event with the Pumpkin Lord sort of being, the icon, the Scare Zone, and we'll get in more into it. Like the Scare Zone Avenue Stars has become sort of like the coming, the table of contents for the event. And well, they wanted to do that, but the Pumpkin Lord was like, no, and has decided to take over. And so it's just taking stuff from that, sort of took off, that the fans sort of like, took it off and incorporating into the event is I mean, you can't get much more fan service than that. So
yeah. So all right, let's dive into the good stuff here. First things first, we are going to talk about the 2 shows that were announced for Halloween Horror Nights 31. The first one being Halloween Nightmare Fuel. Wildfire, and I'll give you guys the quick description here. It says the sequel to last year's fan favorite Halloween Nightmare Fuel show, featuring the world famous performance group the Fuel Girls, highlighting a new dreamer in the depths of a new nightmare set to a heart pounding metal rock and electronica score. So this will be. It seems like they're going to be it's going to be similar to the Nightmare Fuel show that we had last year, which. Dramatic reading. Yeah, Johnny, I know. Don't worry. I'll get to the dramatic. You can't really do the dramatic reading with the shows. I'll do dramatic reading for the houses and scare zones. I promise. It's coming.
I can do a dramatic reading too.
Yeah, Barry can get his deep voice and
I mean, the show was successful last year. Those of you who are in the know that the Fuel Sisters were sort of supposed to be in the show last year, but due to COVID, they're from the UK. Due to like COVID restrictions, they weren't able to make over. So actually, the show we saw last year was sort of like they came up with something pretty amazing in the amount of time they really had once they, from what a friend of mine told me, that they had to sort of redo the show because they weren't going to be there. So we're getting it again, and we're getting sort of the show that we were, the people who were really supposed to be the stars of the show are now going to be the stars of the show. So I'm excited. If you've ever, just look them up online. They are pretty amazing.
Did you see the show last year, Madison?
Were
you able to? No, yeah, because I know you were working the event, so I figured, yeah. No, it was a really good show. I was entertained the entire show. Fire and dancing and and a few little magic tricks
for a theme park show. The illusions were actually pretty impressive. Even though I think most of us figured them out by the end of after a couple of weeks. Yeah, how they were doing. But I mean, for the average guest, though, I mean, it was people were, most people were like pretty amazed by a lot of the illusions in the show.
Yeah.
So it's I'm excited to see. We weren't totally expecting this. We were expecting that theater to be gone.
Yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot of discussion whether, because Fear Factor Live is done, is closed.
Yeah,
so.
and for those of us, the house that was in the extended Men in Black queue is gone. The tent is gone there.
Yeah, that's not there. So that whole section over there to the left of Men in Black is there's not going to be much of anything over there, but the show will be back.
Pretty much the show, and that's about it. And I'm excited. I mean, we love a good show. And speaking of something really new,
Yeah, we are getting another Lagoon show. This year it is called Ghoulish, a Halloween tale. And it says an all-new show taking place in the Universal Studios Lagoon that follows the Grim Reaper on the undertaking of what happens beyond the grave, all set to eerily remixed music by some of today's most iconic artists. Madison,
Did
did you
see The Weeknd in that show?
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I was wondering. That last sentence, it says all set to eerily remixed music by some of today's most iconic artists. That would, The Weeknd having a house, one would go to believe that they would be part of it. But I don't know. The thing with these big name IPs is that sometimes they only get there's no merch and it's just a house, because they're so protective of their properties. I don't know what The Weeknd is allowing Universal to do. So
it's like Marathon of Mayhem last year. I mean, if there was clearly a section of that show that was probably supposed to be Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
It was changed. But no, I mean, Marathon of Mayhem, like I said, really went with the 80s, 90s theme to it. Look to it, and now obviously, like we said, Halloween is the overall theme, so we need a different type of show. And I mean, we all expect the Universal monsters are going to be in the show.
Yeah, that's pretty much a given.
Did you get to see Marathon of Mayhem, Madison?
I saw the videos of it, and then I walked by and saw it, but I saw the one Lagoon show in 29.
So. Yeah, the original Marathon of Mayhem is still my favorite. I wasn't a huge fan of the one last year. I don't think I saw it nearly as much as I saw the original Marathon of Mayhem. That original one was just such a phenomenal show. I swear there wasn't a night of Horror Nights that I was there and I didn't watch it. It was so good.
I think I specifically watched the 2019 one because of the killer clown scene, just because of all the projections on the buildings.
That was one of the coolest parts with the projections, because of all the bright colors and everything, and that was easily one of the best looking parts, was the killer clowns part. But the Stranger Things part, the classic monsters. It was such a great show. So
and what we definitely saw between the 2019 Marathon Mayhem and the 2021 is they keep finding little things to do with that show platform that the other shows haven't done before. So it'll be interesting to see if they've found a couple other new tricks with that whole fountain, lasers, lighting, platform.
That's the great thing with this platform, the Fountain show, is that they can update it, they can change it, they can try new things. So it'll be really cool to see what they come up with this Ghoulish, a Halloween Tales show. So, all right, moving on to scare zones. I kind of got it symmetrically laid out as we go through the slideshow here, that we will kind of go counterclockwise. This first one being Graveyard, Deadly Unrest. All right, Johnny, you ready for my dramatic reading? It's either going to be creepy reading or dramatic. I can never find a happy medium, so it's creepy. Luckily, the descriptions for this, where are the scare zone descriptions? I am prepared here, folks.
I got Graveyard up.
Here we go.
You want to
venture through an ominous Halloween thunderstorm within a ghastly cemetery in Graveyard, Deadly Unrest. I know isn't there a longer one?
There's a different one on the Halloween Horror Nights website.
Go ahead and do that one, Barry.
On All Hallows Eve, a dark storm descends upon a cemetery and awakens long dead spirits. No one living can escape them.
Hey Daniel, welcome to the stream. Hello. Graveyard, Deadly Unrest. This scare zone is looking absolutely amazing. And we have to pour one out for Superstar Parade for allowing us to get a really awesome scare zone in Hollywood this year.
I think it's definitely going to change the game for Hollywood, Avenue of the Stars, and New York as far as what they can now do without a daily parade having to come through. We keep seeing them adding new stuff all the time. one of the biggest things, especially go check out our construction update video number 3. There are triggers in this scare zone.
Yeah.
Multiple triggers in this scare zone. And I think I best describe it. It's looking more and more like a haunted trail.
Yeah, they're like every day they're putting new little details, vines and grass and
trees and
all these little details look absolutely amazing. Madison, what are your thoughts on Graveyard Deadly Unrest?
My favorite statue so far is like the girl that's like dramatically like just heartbroken. I like that.
Oh, she's like all like this.
Yeah.
Like, oh. There was all sorts of memes on Twitter, like describe yourself, like if this was you, like what did she just go through?
It'd be cool.
Me after any minor inconvenience,
right? Like
all together. Yeah,
dramatic.
Hopefully, maybe the statues will tie into some of the characters in there. That there could be like a heartbroken. I don't know. Are we sure? Is this going to be zombies? I mean, is it going to be vampires? Is it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of like undead. Like, when I was listening to the Universal podcast, they were talking about this scare zone, and it seems like it's undead, like zombies, I guess, if you want to call it that. Emily's in the chat. So sad I can't join tonight. We miss you, Emily. We love you.
We miss you, Emily.
She said she's a slave for money. Oh gosh. So yeah, that's Graveyard Deadly Unrest. That will be in Hollywood. Absolutely amazing looking scare zone. I am so excited to see this thing rocking and rolling with lighting and fog. They've got the fog machines out.
I hope that thing is just tons
billowing,
of fog. Just the street is covered with fog.
Give me all the fog. So anyways, all right, moving on. We got to keep going here. Scarecrow next. This will be up in the Central Park area. Scarecrow, Cursed Soil. In the Universal podcast episode, they talk about Scarecrow the Reaping. Now this is Scarecrow Cursed Soil.
So basically, we're sort of getting a different look at the same area, but this is now out in the barn and out in the field.
Yeah, that's what they said in the podcast episode. This is kind of like an expansion pack for Scarecrow, the Reaping house, which was amazing.
Yeah. And the description here is, at an abandoned farm, scarecrows have risen from the crust of the earth to hunt you and seek revenge. They'll harvest your screams.
And here's the press release description. Reap the wrath of scarecrows who will stop at nothing to harvest their souls in Scarecrow Cursed Soil.
I think the interesting thing we found out...
What did you say, Madison?
Which is like Scare Zone, but also part house.
Right.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing we found out on the podcast is that structure that we've seen like sort of like like a platforms on both sides of the street there. Apparently they're going to be building a barn now around that.
Yeah, they mentioned it again. If you guys haven't listened to it yet, go listen to what's the podcast called? Discover Universal. Yeah, they released 2 Horror Nights episodes, and the first one is okay, but the second one, they have a lot of juicy details in the second one, and they do mention that this will be a barn, so I don't know if it's going to encompass like a roof, because last time I was there, it was just the 2 structures on the side in Central Park. But yeah, we're apparently getting a barn in Central Park, so... I'm excited. The 2 platforms on each side are raised up, so if they're gonna have scarecrows up there, kind of, I'm a sucker for raised platforms. Yeah, when the scare actors are kind of up, looking down on you. It's always cool.
Yeah, and they talked about it. Allegedly, I guess some of the people from the farm are going to be, I guess, in there being tortured by the scarecrows. I mean, we've seen that. We've seen lanterns up in the trees. I expect. I have a feeling Central Park usually it comes together last because they don't want to put all that stuff in there until boom, they need to.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting because anyone who went last year knows how jammed that area got.
Yeah, it's a bad bottleneck area. So I'll be curious to see with those platforms there, how it's going to be, because now that they have the Lagoon show there, crowd control in that area is always interesting to watch. Madison, thoughts on Scarecrow, Cursed Soil before we move on?
I love the barn idea, and I can't wait to see how that plays out, but I am worried about the bottleneck of that as far as people who walk one way or the other. I mean, if they walk around and do New York first and all of that, and then end up roping back this way and don't know that there's a house-ish at the front, I feel like there's going to be so many people that are standing there not wanting to go in, and then they're going to have to try to figure that out and just make sure they're pushing people through so that isn't getting jammed.
Yeah.
But
good point.
I do like the idea of it because I think it's very good. Because I think on the podcast, Charles was saying, like, oh, if you just go out to Horror Nights thinking, oh, I'm not going to do any houses, I'm just going to walk the streets, you still have to do a house in order to fully get through Scarecrow.
So that Scarecrow Cursed Soil, that scare zone will be in the Central Park area of studios. So, all right, moving on. The next scare zone in San Francisco, we're going over to San Francisco now. Conjure the Dark. This scare zone's looking really cool. They got some giant set pieces out for this thing. They have these obelisk kind of statues throughout that whole area. Lots of bars in this area. If you're going to want to drink, this is going to be the place to go at Halloween Horror Nights, because if you go back behind Lombards, there's like 3 or 4 bars that they got set up back there.
Yeah, I'm all for Universal getting into this themed bar business, because Hallow Scream has been doing it.
Yeah.
And, that's we showed it off in the video, in the construction video number 3. That's really an unused area back there. I mean, they use the inside of Lombards for the RIP tour sort of break area. But that's a good use of space. And hey, if it helps get some people off the paths for a little bit, to hang out there and have a drink or eat something, it's a good use of space.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they're going with, is to kind of get people, because that area back behind Lombards is a big kind of deck patio area. So if they can, because let's face it, that San Francisco area is another place where it gets pretty tight.
Yeah.
Especially during Halloween Horror Nights, it doesn't really bottleneck in there. The crowds move, but that's the other area that's been really tough to get a scare zone that functions really well. I think they've gotten better with it over the years, kind of moving stuff further back and kind of up against the sides, not putting anything right in the middle of the walkways. But yeah, Conjure the Dark. We didn't read the descriptions. Let me get the press release one here. There is escape an evil sorceress, bringing forth an army of ravenous monstrosities in Conjure the Dark. So there's that one. Do you have the website description, Barry? Have a
yes. On the first All Hallows Eve, an evil sorceress called forth monstrosities from dark dimensions. Now your blood will fuel them.
Dun dun dun.
So yeah, it's basically the first Halloween. It's basically the first Halloween, and this sorceress is unleashing these different monsters from different dimensions onto the world, and it's definitely feels like there's going to be a little bit of show going on there with the stage, with the cauldron, with the doorway that's clearly set up for people to come out of. And there's supposed to be a bunch of pyro in this scare zone too.
Yeah, I saw somebody point out the pyro machines, the fireball machines. Madison, thoughts on Conjure the Dark?
I hope that one stage is a giant show moment, because I think that if you have the main sorceress coming up from behind and just slamming open the doors, beautiful.
That'd be
but
really
I also
cool.
think they need well lit advertisement kind of happening though to go back to Lombards as far as all those bars, because I feel like a lot of people aren't going to know that they're there.
Yeah.
And they'll go to like all the main bars that they see. Mm-hmm. So there definitely needs to be something that tells people to go back there, or else I feel like it'll be a nice place to go for people who do know it's back there, because it'll be probably like the less busy bar of the night or the least busy bar of the night because everybody's gonna be at the main bars.
The witch will tell everybody to go back there.
And it definitely it looks possibly like it may be actual mixed drinks at that bar because there looks like there's shelves for liquor.
There was definitely like almost like a top shelf liquor kind of bar looking area back there.
They better have a bunch of themed drinks that just match all the scare zones and like all the houses.
Well, they usually have the
like candy corn or
there's usually three to four different themed drinks.
There's a couple pre-mixed drinks. Yeah.
I mean, you used to be able to get mixed drinks. But then they cut that to only Finnegan's and was it Chez Alcatraz were the only regular bars.
Emily says she needs to hear everybody's witch impressions now.
I can't cackle.
Oh gosh, lots of people in the chat. I'm trying to keep up with it. How's there? Daniel says more of a lounge vibe than a bar. Yeah, maybe that could be a possibility.
I mean, it definitely looks like a really cool place to hang out because they've definitely, we've seen some theming been put out there, and maybe they'll throw in some more. So
yeah. So, all right.
Oh, I'm also curious about the runes on that one because I was trying to figure them out because I did an entire semester of Norse mythology and Norse history, and I had like an entire month that all of our assignments were nothing but decoding runes, and we had to do poems, we had to do songs, we had to do little crossword puzzles, and by the time I finished it, my brain was just, I can visualize the Nordic alphabet along with what it all coordinates to as far as runes, and so I can sit there and read them without having to pull up any sort of decoder or anything. And I was walking around looking at all of them. None of them make sense. Some of them I'd be like, oh, that's a T, that's another T, that doesn't exist. That's from like the elder Nordic runes, but not the like younger one. And so then they were mixing some of them. I don't know. I just need somebody to answer what they are exactly.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, because I was looking at them like, because the rune pillars that are kind of back there by the bar, they have like 3 letters on it. I'm like, what are these 3-letter words? Like, what could it?
Some that are like 2 of them are T's, but then the other one I think is supposed to be an A, but it's not facing the right way.
Yeah,
based on the Norse one that I know. So I'm like, it's not that unless they were just kind of taking some and making it their own, just trying to make it themed.
Interesting, yeah, because I was wondering the same thing with all those runes because they're up on the big stage too, around the door and stuff. They're all over the place. Those rune words. So all right, moving on to New York. This scare zone is called Sweet Revenge, and this scare zone is probably, if we were going to do our hype list right now, this is probably my number 1 that I'm beyond excited for. Let me read let me get the press release up here. Where are we at? Sweet Revenge. Here we go. Experience a terrifying 1950s Halloween parade gone wrong alongside bloodthirsty trick-or-treaters in Sweet Revenge. So there you go. There's Sweet Revenge. This story, did you have the description, Barry, from the website you want to?
I feel like the press release was the first time that was actually better than what's on the website. Because the website one is just the sweets from Major Sweets Candy Company have turned children into crazed killers. This Halloween, all trick, no treat, and total mayhem.
See, that description gives a little bit better of the story. It explains the story a little bit better behind the scare zone, where this one was just kind of vague. So I kind of
well, it's supposed to be Halloween night. The kids are out trick or treating. This town also has like a whole festival and parade, and things have gone horribly wrong.
Yeah,
and the I guess the was it Major Sweets of the Major Sweets Candy Company has decided to poison the candy that in a way that it turns the children into monsters.
Yeah, and this scare zone is looking phenomenal as far as like construction and setup goes. They have lots of props up. They have a tractor that's kind of crashed. They have orange Halloween lights in some of the trees that look absolutely amazing. And apparently, according to again the podcast episode, they mentioned the creative team behind the event. They said that they actually worked with the people that made the Mardi Gras floats to do something for this event. Now, whether it's new float, I don't think they would make a new float just for Halloween Horror Nights, or they rethemed a Mardi Gras float to Halloween for something Halloween.
Yeah, there's supposed to be the parade will be. You'll see floats from the parade, of course, but they will be crashed.
Yeah, they'll probably be stationary out in the midway, because New York is huge. You know, this is the scare zone where they can go. Excuse my French, batshit crazy, and do a lot of really cool things.
And there's going to be a lot of show elements in this, which is usually the New York thing anyway. But
yeah, and then of course I think this is the first time they've done this. The tribute store. The summer tribute store, which for those of you that saw was the movie theater, and it had E.T. and Jaws and Back to the Future in it. They are actually carrying that over to this scare zone. They're keeping the movie theater. I believe they gave it like an orange paint job. We love it when Clint swears. Yeah, it's a rarity especially on the live stream. I try to keep it kid friendly on here. What are you saying, Emily?
He's not kid friendly in real life.
Yeah. Be quiet. I'm a potty mouth. But no, the tribute store, they're actually carrying over the tribute store that was here for the summer, the movie theater one, into this scare zone. Because as time went on, I was like, there's been years where, it was the Jurassic World tribute store. And it was down like the next day. Like they were tearing it down. And the days and the weeks started going by, and this movie theater facade was still up. And so I began to think that they were going to integrate this into the scare zone this year. And sure enough, here we are. So Madison, what are your thoughts on Sweet Revenge?
I'm very excited. I feel like I can't say anything about this one because I know it. So it's like anything I say.
Yeah. We know. But no, I'm really excited about this zone. It's traditional Halloween. Again, falling back on the traditional Halloween theme, a Halloween parade. Now, what would have been really cool is if we got an actual Halloween parade back, because those of you that remember, I'm going to show my age here. Halloween Horror Nights did have an actual parade once.
Yes.
It was called Festival of the Dead Parade, and it was fantastic. And I would love to see that come back one year, but I'll take what I can get, whether it's crashed.
I mean, I think it's great that the tribute store is going to sort of tie into being part of this town, and then the rooms in the tribute store will tie into different the witches and stuff like that, and where there's going to be Major Sweets candy company stuff inside the tribute store.
Yep.
So I mean we've asked for. We wanted stuff like this for years, and it's just amazing that we get it now. And I think the other thing they mentioned on the podcast is chainsaws. There will be. It looks
what would Halloween Horror Nights be without chainsaws?
We will see hopefully the return of chainsaws in their own on their own.
Yeah.
Not just integrated into parts of the zones like they were last year.
Yeah. So all right. Moving on, we got to pick up the pace here.
Yeah.
We kind of already talked about this one. This will be Barry kind of talked about it at the beginning of the stream. This will be the production central scare zone. Already they've got the scaffolding, the stage up. Well, yeah, scaffolding, I guess you could call it. They got that up with all the pumpkins tied to it. Yes, Little Boo is back. Little Boo was added.
And soon we will start seeing from what they said on the podcast. We're going to start seeing vines.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to kind of. I'm guessing they're going to intertwine vines through this giant structure that they've got up. But yes, our Lord and Savior Pumpkin Lord will be back, burping and belching on people, hopefully, in all of his glory. So I am excited to see this zone, and I believe I can't remember. I think they said in the podcast that this is still kind of going to be a mishmash of
table of contents for the show.
Basically like what the event is, little pics and little
there will be characters from the other scare zones in this scare zone because the Pumpkin Lord is drawing them in. And it's like you said, this is like you said, they've really realized, Avenue of the Stars, that it's just best to sort of have it as this is the entrance to the event, and to give you sort of a tease and a taste of what's to come. And I think, having the Pumpkin Lord sort of take over is just, it's a great idea. It brings out a character, from Wicked Growth last year that became very popular, and now people are going to be able to interact with him, and it's
I forgot this was a thing, Daniel. Daniel says, "Are the religious groups going to come out and protest the Pumpkin Lord again?" And we're gonna do our Pumpkin Lord circle again with Hunter. That was fantastic. For those of you that didn't participate in that last year, we should do it again this year. Shout out to Hunter for putting that together last year. That was a fun little get together with some HHN friends. Alex says in the chat, are any Stillwalkers in the scare zones at all? Alex, if I were a betting man, I would say yes.
Yes.
Stillwalkers are a huge part of Halloween Horror Nights.
Gosh, I would be shocked if they're not in the Sweet Revenge scare zone.
Yeah.
The parade, but maybe not. Who knows?
Kind of quick going through chat here really quick.
Madison is just shrugging her shoulders.
Yeah. Madison, any thoughts on horrors of Halloween before we get going here again?
I love that it basically seems like they took every single pumpkin that was in the Wicked Growth archway and just threw them up on all the trusses and just keeps recycling them. And so I hope people start pulling more of them and naming them, and we can just make all of them famous and just force them to use them every year.
Yeah, it's become a thing now, and it all started.
The pumpkins made their debut with the Trick or Treat. Was it Trick or Treat was the first time they used the pumpkins? I forgot when it.
In the trees in Central Park?
In the trees in Central Park.
No, they were in the trees before that. They've been a staple for.
I can't remember if that was the year where they had done a bunch of new ones. They had added a lot, because I remember them talking about them all, just taking them home and making them.
Yeah. So all right, to save time, I'm not going to bother with the. You guys know the previously announced houses. The Weekend Halloween. What's the monsters one? Help me out here, people.
Legends Collide.
Legends Collide. And what's the other one? One more. What am I missing? Halloween. Did I say Halloween?
Horror is a Blumhouse.
Yeah.
Blumhouse. Yeah. So we are going to dive.
The only thing interesting we found out about Halloween was that it's going to be about the original movie again.
Yeah.
Which I am sort of shocked.
Yeah.
You would think they'd do it on the new movie. So
I'm wondering if they're going to wait and do that, like kind of like a mega house, like all three movies just crammed into one house. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends.
Skip over most of Halloween Kills. So
you guys are killing it with the bug that's in chat.
We're getting there.
And guess what? I have it last in the slideshow, so you guys are going to have to stay in the stream until the very end. So hang tight, folks. Because first up, we are going to talk about Descendants of Destruction. This one, excuse me, my voice is getting. Where are we at here? Descendants of Destruction. Encounter bloodthirsty mutants living in a post-apocalyptic subway system in Descendants of Destruction. Barry, how you got the other description? Is that fairly on point, or anything different? Or
careful not to leave any of your Scream Squad. Let's talk about the Scream Squad. Scream Squad behind as you descend the subway tunnels of a deserted New York. Lurking in the dark are hungry mutants looking to feast on the last remnants of humanity.
Madison, let's start with you on this one. What do you think of Descendants of Destruction? How does this sound?
I am very interested about this one. I feel like this one plus Bugs will probably be the first two that I do, just to like knock out the 210s. But I'm also just very intrigued because it feels like Seeds in a way, but it also feels like Dead Exposure in a way.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, I like how they keep using kind of like the post-apocalyptic feel, but reimagining it to be different characters. Because I mean, Seeds were the plants, and then Dead Exposure, they had kind of zombies, and now it's, I'm very curious to see what some of these people look like. I feel like that's kind of a big thing this year overall is, I mean, we were talking about the creatures that are going to be in deadly unrest, which words. I'm very curious to see a lot of the creatures this year because they just kind of use that word very vaguely and they just throw it out there, just creatures here and there. And so I'm very curious to actually see what they look like because I'm always impressed by that because they're always so different and they always have a very unique take on them.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think the interesting thing that's going to be with this house is based on what they've said is it's sort of in 3 parts. We sort of get the beginning of, when everyone gets underground to get away, and then you'll get to the point where people start mutating, and then for the final part, it'll be when they're just full on monsters. So we'll see like things evolve. We'll literally see like the descent into
well, yeah, didn't they also mention that like it's going to get darker too? Like the further you go into the subway, the darker it's going to get. So it'll be curious to see how that plays out in the house. If the house actually does start to get darker and darker and darker as you progress through it, which sounds really cool. Yeah. Because if you want to creep me out, darkness is one way to do it. I'm sorry. But when it's dark, I start to get creeped out. I wouldn't say I get scared, but if you want to at least because listen, I've been going to Halloween Horror Nights for 20 plus years. I rarely get scared at these events, but when it's dark and it's just pitch black and I can't see, that starts to creep me out.
Yeah, I mean that's about the only thing that gets me anymore. That's why I love like Dead Exposure.
Daniel says Graveyard Games did it perfectly. Yeah, that dark hallway in Graveyard Games, forget it.
Yeah.
Every time this was me, I closed my eyes even though it was pitch black in there. It made no sense.
Graveyard Games, you want to go way back to Nightmare on Elm Street one, where they literally flashed a blinding light in your eye and then you're just, trying to you're just completely disoriented the rest of the way out. And anything darkness is about the only thing that will ever get me inside a house.
Same. No, I don't do darkness. So, all right, moving on. Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. I hate that we keep going back, but this podcast, there was a lot of juicy details in it, so that's why we keep going back to it. When the creative team was talking about this house, the description that they gave, and I don't have it in front of me. I wish I could play it. Their description of this house made me really, really excited for it. Apparently this house is going to be massive set pieces. Just the scale of it apparently is going to be huge from kind of what they were saying.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically going to be walking through a New England fishing village.
Yeah, exactly. The description says, endure a petrifying winter thunderstorm in a seaside village ruled by an undead fisherman in Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. So there is Dead Man's Pier. How's the website description look? Anything different? Anything worth sharing on there?
In a New England fishing village,
I guess so.
Undead fishermen emerge from the waves to seek their revenge. You and your scream squad may have escaped the hooks in the scare zone. Now they'll reel you in and drag you under.
I love how he slowly went back into like Barry. It was like.
Do any of these other ones mention Scream Squad? I think those are the only. Nope.
Ugh. I just feel like Scream Squad is gonna be such a big TikTok thing this year.
Hashtag Scream Squad, baby.
Hashtag Scream.
Scream Squad.
My whole thing with Scream Squad feels like a bunch of ad execs or a committee was trying to figure out what would kids think is hip.
Hey,
let's call it Scream Squad.
Yeah,
I feel like the word squad
let's do a video of a woman trying to take a selfie in a bathroom.
The merchandise that they came out with yesterday for the big announcement drop was with the Pumpkin Lord and everything on it, which is really cool, by the way. I forgot, what does it say? It says it was way better than the "Don't Go Alone" or "Never Low Alone" slogan that they've had going on. It says something like "fear around every corner" or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. I like that. I'm not big on the whole "never go alone" or "don't go alone" thing personally. But I think it was something like there's fear around every corner or something like that. Anyways, back to Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake. Yeah, they mentioned the scale of this house is going to be massive. And just it got me really excited for this house.
It's a semi-sequel to the Scare Zone.
Dead Man's Wharf.
Like it should be called it should be called Dead Man's Wharf. Kind of bothers me that it's Pier and not Wharf.
It's Pier. Yeah. Madison, anything else before we move on Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake?
This one's my number one on my hype list for sure.
Really? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. It definitely moved up after listening to their podcast episode. The way they described. Another way to get me hyped about a house is talking about scale and size. And when some of these houses have these giant set pieces, that does me in. I love it. When you walk in and you see like a giant ship or what have you, I'm a sucker for giant set pieces. All right, moving on. Hellblock Horror. This one I was kind of confused about at first. I didn't know. I was like, is this like Hellgate Prison? And then they talked about it on that podcast episode, and I was like, okay, so it's like a prison for monsters. Okay, that's kind of cool. And the description here in the press release says, attempt to survive visiting hours for horrifying monsters serving time in Hellblock Horror. And I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Maybe you remember, Barry. Didn't they mention like what kind of monsters that you're going to run into? I think it's
all different kinds of monsters. They escape. You're going through the prison, and then they manage to break out while you're in the prison, and you're trying to make your way to the power core, so you can blow up the place before the monsters make it into the real world.
Spoiler alert! You have a mission as a guest walking through the house.
And they said maybe monsters from the past at Halloween Horror Nights might be in this prison.
Yeah, they mentioned that little
wink,
Easter
nudge,
egg.
Nudge, maybe some.
So
familiar. Who knows?
I didn't know. Who were they meaning by that?
I don't know, but it made it sound like it might be at least one monster in there might be someone we recognize.
Yeah.
It's just
HHN Bear. HHN Bear will be in Hellgate Prison.
That would be funny.
That would be funny, to be honest. Madison, thoughts on Hellblock Horror?
When I read the description, the only thing I could picture was Stranger Things 4 and Hopper running through the Russian prison, being chased by Demogorgons, and then Murray coming in there with his giant freaking...
The flamethrower.
That's all I could picture for this house. I want to walk through that here.
I've always been a fan of the Hellgate Prison, so the fact that it's going to be a monster prison puts a kind of fun twist on it, so I'm curious to see how this goes. I don't think this is far up on my hype list, but
it's another one of those things where they use the word monster or creatures. It's like, okay, but what do they look like? So
I'm curiously optimistic about this house. I don't know where they're going with this whole monster prison thing. So
I will say, like the description and everything, it feels a very old school haunted house.
Yeah,
like something from 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. So, all right. I think we've wrapped that one up. Let's keep going here. Next is Fiesta de Chupacabras. We're getting a Chupacabras house at HHN this year, which will be pretty cool. Let me bring up the little description here in the press release. This is the shortest, or no, Hellblock Horror was the shortest description. It says... Escape or become prey to a no longer mythical fang creature in Fiesta de Chupacabras.
Yeah, that's pretty weak.
Yeah, that's the smallest description in the second to smallest.
The one from the website. Listen to your abuela and beware the chupacabras. Visit a Latin American village where the legend of the creature Chupacabras is celebrated with colorful fiesta, and the streets are lined with crimson blood of tourists like you and your amigos.
Yeah, they talked about this one in the podcast episode, and apparently, you're going to be going through a Spanish village. From what I was understanding,
Central American village.
Yeah, and you're going to be apparently they are trying to protect themselves from the Chupacabra.
They're luring tourists there for like this. Oh, we're gonna have this fun festival, but it's really to
distract the Chupacabra,
like
kill the tourists and get sacrifice the tourists so they can put the bucket of blood out in front of their homes to keep the Chupacabras from coming for them.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how well. I will say if they don't pull this off correctly, they will probably get a lot of grief from people. But a friend of ours was involved with this house, and they're trying to make sure that they are correct in
they nail the authenticity of the house.
Nail the authenticity of the house because there are different versions of the Chupacabra.
Yeah, the Chupacabra is like a deep, like mythological, like folklore tale, and there's so many stories of the Chupacabra. So it'll be very curious to see how they take all of those stories and all of those iterations of the Chupacabra and come up with their own. I'm wondering if this will be. Do you think they would go the puppet route with this house, the Chupacabras, or do you think they'll be like life-size people?
It might just be. It depends on what design they go with.
Yeah. Madison, thoughts on this one before we move on?
I feel like this one's gonna be one of the pretty houses, like this one and Dead Pier. I feel like are both gonna be very pretty.
Yeah.
Just scenically.
Yeah, scenically, they're going to be really cool. So, all right. Moving on. Getting through them here. Spirits of the Coven. This house, again, kind of falling back on the whole traditional Halloween theme. This one kind of fits into that as well. Let me bring up the press release here. Spirits of the Coven. Here we go. It says... Enter an unsettling 1920s speakeasy, only to discover that they are the main ingredient of witch's brew in Spirits of the Coven. Going back to the 1920s.
I mean, flapper witches. What? I mean,
flapper witches.
1920s speakeasy.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're gonna a little bit of a jazz Dixieland soundtrack probably in this thing. I think this is definitely on near the top of a lot of people's hype list because just the idea, the set design on this alone has got to be incredibly cool. Just with the speakeasy theme, just the 1920s, the whole Art Deco look of that period. I'm excited. This probably is my most hyped up house for me, at least.
Madison, any thoughts on Spirits of the Coven?
I'm excited for this one too. This one's probably the second. Dead Man's Pier first, and then this one because I feel like again another pretty house, but also just very. I like the thought of going through the speakeasy and then it kind of being taken over.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if we'll see a where is it? Oh, never mind.
It also kind of feels like too kind of took like the idea of the kitty cat club.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Files last year and how much people loved that, and then just were like, "Hey, a whole house on it."
Yeah. So, let me see. Let me check in on the chat room here. You guys are chatting it up here. Surprised the bug chant hasn't started again because we're getting there. Actually, I think maybe. Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time. It's time. It's time for Bugs Eaten Alive, the moment you've all been waiting for. Last but not least, the house that everybody, and I mean everybody, this has been the talk of the announcement. Bugs Eaten Alive. So yeah, this house. Let me quick read the description here. I think Barry, I think go ahead and just do the website one. Because I think that one was better, if I'm correct. I think they had a little more detail. So go ahead and do that one.
While touring a 1950s home of the future, you'll be surrounded by slime of bugs everywhere as hordes of many-legged terrors descend upon you and your scream squad. you'll be dropping like flies. So yeah, I mean, you basically, they talked about on the podcast. You're sort of going into like a 1950s Home of the Future thing. Sort of like they had remember a Disneyland when Disneyland opened.
Yeah,
and they're showcasing. I think it was like some sort of insecticide. And things go horribly wrong because it doesn't kill the bugs; it makes them bigger
bugs,
and more bloodthirsty. They're really hyping up the fact that this house is one of the grossest house they've ever created.
Yeah, when the creative team was talking about this one, they said that they have difficulty going through this house at times. Like, I guess when they're doing their the creative team isn't in there building it, but probably when they're going in to like inspect things and look at it, they said some of the creative team, they've had a hard time going through this house because it's so gross. So yeah.
However, there's supposed to be a little bit of comedy in the dark comedy.
Yeah, they mentioned comedy, too. So you're going to be completely grossed out, but there's going to be some lighthearted comedy, some slapstick comedy somewhere in the house. So
I feel like some of the comedy would have to be probably some of the scare actors that are dressed up as bugs. Like there's probably got to be where obviously the scenic bugs probably look very, very real and gross but then when you have the giant bugs popping out at you, some of that's probably got to be some of the dark humor.
Bugs eaten alive. This was the hot topic on social media. Everybody was talking about it. A lot of people, there's people that are grossed out by not necessarily bugs but spiders. I'm genuinely curious about this house now that it's been hyped up so much. Literally within the last 24 hours, everybody has hyped this one up so much. Bugs eaten alive, and that's it. We hit it in an hour. We're at an hour exactly. Good job, everybody. We did it. Oh gosh,
I also love that this bug house was just a joke for so long, and everybody just kept calling it Bug House.
Yeah,
and I was just picturing I guess it is just bugs everywhere, but I also forgot that there's supposed to be an actual storyline. So that when I was reading about them yesterday and I was reading about like touring the house, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. They kind of do need a storyline.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's smart.
I was kind of the same way. I was like, so it's just going to be a house full of bugs? I was like, what could the story? Because, I was like, I wasn't thinking that the house was going to be just bugs everywhere, but I'm like, what's the plot behind this house? Like, what's the story? And we got the 1950s Home of the Future storyline, which sounds really cool. I'm genuinely curious how the house is going to look. Daniel says, do you think there's going to be Bugs merchandise? Johnny says, Bug Squad, cricket lollipops, mealworm candy bars. Oh gosh,
I don't know if I'll go that
Alex
far.
says, props to the creators of this house. It should be. There's many people that work on this event. But yeah, we're just overall this year looks absolutely amazing. Just kind of going back and looking at everything. We were discussing the traditional Halloween theme, which is really cool.
I love that. I love we're bouncing into different time periods with the houses with with the Monsters house, Bug House, the Coven,
and all the scare zones are looking fantastic this year.
Everything's all these different time periods, and then just traditional Halloween, and I think I'm all we were really hyped up last year because it was the anniversary year, and we had gone 2 years, and
it was still a weird year though. It wasn't like, I think this is our first really normal year, because things were still kind of weird last year with the plexiglass barriers and all that stuff.
And one of the things they talked about the Bugs house is this is the return of in your face stuff. Things hanging down on you, and just probably stuff getting sprayed at you, and I'm all for that.
Let us know in the chat. What are you guys excited about? Got 17, 18 people watching right now. What house are you guys most excited for? I want to see kind of everybody, what house. I know Bugs. Good Lord. We know Bugs. We know everybody's excited for Bugs. But before we get going here, I just want to kind of see what everybody's excited about. What house? What scare zone? Let us know in the comments before we wrap things up here. Madison, any last final comments about this year's event? Just kind of overall thoughts?
This year is probably going to be the end to... like the year after the anniversary year always sucks. Like that curse. I feel like this is probably the end of it because this year, like everything just seems very cohesive and just all the storylines I think are fantastic and all of them have, like Barry was saying, with the different time periods, they're just everything seems really really well done. And I also like that we have so many originals this year because even with like the IPs, some of those still feel very much like originals because Monsters is Universal, and then The Weeknd kind of also feels like an original, just more of like a partnership. So it just seems like we have a lot of just originals that are just coming straight from creative.
Yep. Everybody, a couple people saying a lot of people excited for The Weeknd. Daniel says, Emily says only Bug. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year. I hope we continue what we got with last year. Story-driven houses. Yeah, I hope the Monsters house this year is just like Bride was, where it was a continuation. We're getting an original story. I hope they keep with the cinematic feel. Yeah, that a lot of the houses had last year.
That's kind of going off what I was saying, like about big set pieces, really detailed houses. I really hope that they stick with that, and it looks like it's going to be a solid year, and I'm super excited. We're just under 2.5 weeks away, give or take. Wednesday, 2.5 weeks, give or take.
2 weeks.
Scarecrow, Cursed Soil, that scare zone sounds really cool. Everybody's still kind of commenting. I'm actually pleased with all the original concepts. Yeah, they look very good. Excited for Horrors of Bug House. Travis. Gosh. 2017 Scarecrow was a god house. Yes, it was. It was phenomenal. I feel bad for people that never got to witness that house because I'm going to be very curious to see how Hollywood Scarecrow the Reaping is going to be. I'm genuinely curious how that house is going to be. Alex says, love all the details and depths of the house. The Graveyard Scare Zone. Emily says, weekends at Bug House. On that note, we're going to wrap it up, get on out of here. And I think we pretty much covered everything. We'll definitely be talking about the food and stuff when that's announced. The food booths are going up. They look really great this year. So that'll probably be another thing for all things Halloween Horror Nights. Be sure to check out our Ultimate Thrill Guide. Simply go to thrillgeek.com/HHN. I've updated it with all the new house announcements, the scare zones, the shows. It's all there. And we will be updating it as the event gets closer, and when the event's going on, we'll update our Stay in Scream section, giving you guys some tips and tricks on the Stay in Scream areas this year. So be sure to look out for that. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you as always. Go give Johnny some love over there at Haunt Scene. He does good stuff over there. Show. Yeah, I think he's doing 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays usually. He does good stuff over there, so be sure to go check out, give Johnny some love. So, Madison, where can everybody follow you online really quick, and then we'll get on out of here.
Yes, I am Madison Tweets on Twitter and Madison1321 on Instagram, and there'll definitely be a lot of Horror Nights content on there.
Yeah, and she does a lot of the articles for Thrillgeek, so be sure to check out her articles up there on thrillgeek.com as well. Emily says, see you soon, my buggy babies. Oh god. We need to get out of here quick. This is going downhill. Yeah. Barry, where can everybody find us online, and then where can everybody follow you online?
I'm at Culture and Thrills on Twitter and Instagram, and we are at Thrillgeek on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook.com/Thrillgeek. Please like and follow our Facebook page. YouTube.com/Thrillgeek. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find all of our Halloween Horror Nights videos, including in the latest construction update number 3. Clint walking around Universal Studios Florida like a kid in a candy store, experiencing the construction for the first time. We will have another construction update. Number 4 will debut Friday on our YouTube channel, where we'll show you the latest of the scare zone and construction throughout Universal Studios Florida. Yeah. And of course, Thrillgeek.com for the latest in theme park and pop culture news. And you're watching Thrill Geek this week. And I feel like, so in the coming weeks, we've got next week, I guess we'll maybe get back to some actual theme park and pop culture news.
Yeah, I know we said
one brief moment.
I know we said Mondays, we'd be switching to Mondays, but the discussion, the rumors started to fly that the big HHN news drop was going to happen this week. So I said, let's hold off on our Monday schedule. So next week, we could probably get back on our regular routine of Monday evenings, our new regular routine of Monday evenings, I should say. But I was like, let's wait, see if the big HHN news drop happened, and it did. So here we are on a Wednesday night. Yeah. So
next week will be theme park pop culture. We'll probably talk a little She-Hulk, which debuts tomorrow. The following week will be our, used to do it on the podcast, but now we're going to probably do our hype show for Halloween Horror Nights 31. The week of the opening, and then the following week we will give you guys our first weekend thoughts. And then we go into Hallowscream, and then maybe we'll get back
to spooky stuff. Oh gosh! So hey, Lauren, really quick. Hello, thank you for tuning in. You can go. I'm sorry we missed you. You can come back and this will be posted. You can watch the entire thing again on our right here on our YouTube. So I appreciate you as always, Lauren. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you everybody for tuning into the chat. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. For chatting along with us on Twitch and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, like all that YouTube stuff, and it all helps out the channel. It helps us grow, helps us find more people, and take care, be safe, and we will see you guys next week.
See you in the fog.
Spooky.